I call this Town of Adams Board of Selectmen's meeting to order, Wednesday, June 5th, 2024. Could you all please join us in standing and setting the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If there is anyone in the audience who's looking to film this meeting, they are required to inform the chair. They can film the meeting, but inform the chair is required. Seeing no one?
Can you also state that we're being recorded?
And this meeting is being recorded. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes from May 1st, 2024. What is the board's request?
I'll make a motion to waive the reading of the minutes and approve them as submitted for May 1st, 2024.
Motion made by Christine. Do we have a second? I'll second. Was that then? I think I was there. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
I'm abstaining.
Okay, thank you. We have 2 abstentions. 2 in favor. Next is public comment. Anyone who would like to address the Board of Selectmen? Yes, come on up. State your name and your address, please.
Hi everyone, Jay Meserwart, 2 Kerr Ave. Just here to invite you all tomorrow morning to Coffee in the Court, an event that's usually held at Armory Court, 7:30 to 9 a.m. This time around, it's Northern Berkshire Events Committee who's going to be sponsoring it with food and coffee from the Daily Grind. So just want to invite you all there and anyone else from the town. It's a free event and hope to see you all there.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Anyone else who would like to address?
Due to the rain, potentially, it's going to be at the Adams Theater rather than an Armory Court. Sorry. Either way, if it rains or shines.
Okay, rain or shine.
Just lit the rug on fire, Jay.
Jay, you all set? Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we will move along. We have old business, Park Street repaving project update. Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mr. Duval. So Eamon Coughlin, our Community Development Director, wanted to give everybody a quick update. We know that there's a little bit of buzz about repaving the biggest corridor in town. Construction of curb ramps by our contractor has begun on Columbia Street in the Walgreens area and is proceeding northbound towards the roundabout. Adams DPW has completed exploratory work to remove the old streetcar tracks on Park Street earlier and has called for a dig-safe utility marking. We hope that that work will be completed sometime later this week, if not early next week. Once those utilities are marked out, DPW is going to go in there and remove the old trolley track. We estimate at this time about 40 feet of track needs to be removed. The reason for that removal is that the road surface will be milled down, and we need to remove the steel tracks that are still down there in order to prevent any potential damage to the milling machine. So you'll see DPW out there at some point in the near future doing that. The repaving of Park Street itself has not yet been formally scheduled and is contingent on DPW first removing those streetcar tracks. Maximilian, our contractor, has confirmed that no repaving will occur before June 18th. Residents are reminded that once that date is set, and we'll be sure to communicate those dates, that during the repaving of Park Street, there will be a detour for northbound traffic that'll run along Myrtle Street, Pleasant Street, and Depot Street, which is a typical detour when Park Street has to be shut down. Southbound traffic will be allowed to remain on Park Street on Route 8. Repaving is expected to take 2 days. Milling is expected to take about 2 days. We'll keep everybody in the loop as we go, but that'll be a large project for the summer coming up.
Okay, any questions from the board? I may have missed this. Have all the businesses been informed of this?
Community Development's reaching out to them, and once the hard dates are set, we'll inform all of the businesses. There'll also be a parking impact too, I should say as well, for about anywhere from 48 to 72 hours.
All right. Okay, moving on, we have new business. Item A, ratification of John Tynum as per diem van driver for the Adams Council on Aging. You got that letter, Jim? Why don't you take that?
Sure. So our Council on Aging van drivers, as folks know, are per diem. We have a great pool of dedicated folks who drive per diem for the town. Mr. Tynan is requested that position. He was interviewed by Ms. Fontaine, and Mr. Tynan is up for ratification this evening. I'll read my memorandum to the board. There's also a letter in your materials from Director Fontaine to myself recommending the appointment. This letter is to advise the Board of Selectmen that John Tynan has been appointed to the position of per diem van driver, Adams Council on Aging. As provided in Section 10 of the Town Charter, I am pleased to present Mr. Tynan for your ratification this evening. Once ratified and contingent upon successfully passing and completing any hiring requirements of the town, Mr. Tynan will begin his employment on June 5th, 2024 at a grade 5, step 1 rate of $18 hourly, And for folks who may not know, John was a member of the Savoy Select Board several years ago, and he was a gentleman that came to Adams and really wanted to start the two councils on aging working together. So we're pleased that John wants to continue to be involved. He's a great asset.
All right, any questions from the board or action?
I'll make a motion to ratify the appointment of John Tynan as per diem van driver for the Adams Council on Aging at a grade 5, step 1 rate of $18 an hour.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ann. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous decision. Next, we have the ratification of Jordan Lipinski as Administrative Assistant to the Adams Police Department. I believe Jordan is here, and Chief?
I'll lay some cover down for the chief. Oh, he got to the podium pretty quick, so I'll let the chief take it.
I'm marking
See how fast he is, Jordan? Gotta get used to it.
Yeah.
Was he faster or slower than Jay Mesworth? Just checking.
Oh, I don't know. That rug's getting a lot.
I think slower because he's wearing, these things can't have any traction. Mine's hiking shoes. It's a pleasure to see all of you again. So I've got Jordan with me, and I will just read what you should have in front of you for ratification. I bring before the board Ms. Jordan Lipinski to be ratified for the position of Administrative Assistant to the Chief of Police with the Town of Adams Police Department. Jordan is from this area. She grew up here going to Hoosick Valley, and she attended school with some of my officers, Sergeant Crane, Sergeant Wright, Officer Cunningham. So that's positive. They
Well,
have nothing
At least 2 out of those 3.
but great things to say. So after graduating, she held several jobs that are in the same ilk as what she will be doing here at the police department. She currently works at Hoosick Valley High School. She has put in her notice. She interviewed well. Everyone on the interview board was very pleased, and I think she would be a great fit. And you know, one thing I pride myself on with my officers and with Jordan is being a pretty good judge of character. I think she'll work well. She says she wants to have a career, and that's what I like to see. So hopefully Jordan can be with us for some time. I asked the board to ratify her and approve the below pay grade on your sheets. It's the 2024 fiscal year, step 2, $20.22 an hour.
Jay, do you have anything to add?
No, I just want to echo what the chief said. We enjoyed interviewing Jordan. She was enthusiastic about the position. We have several of these positions, administrative assistant positions open, so we're happy that Jordan applied. Sorry, Principal Byrd, sorry, Superintendent Dean, but, you know.
And just a couple more things to add. I might answer any questions you might have. So as you all might know, Melissa technically retired on Friday. So Jordan is going to start with us on the 20th. Melissa is still coming back in a part-time basis to keep us above the water, because there are things that still need to be taken care of that Chief Kelly doesn't know how to do. So when she starts with us on the 20th, Melissa will come in more than what she's doing now and get Jordan up to speed, along with Jordan coming over here and working with the staff at Town Hall. So when she is cut loose, she'll be ready to go. We want to provide her with everything we possibly can to help her along the way. So just wanted to give that bit of information.
All right, thank you, Chief. Do we want to get a motion on the floor, then we can have a discussion?
I'll make a motion to ratify the appointment of Jordan Lipinski as Administrative Assistant to the Adams Police Department at a grade 6, step 2 rate of $20.22 an hour.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ann. Discussion. Joe?
I would just like to say that I've known Jordan for a while because I'm up at the school quite often substituting, and I have no financial reason not to vote for her. Is I couldn't vote for the school budget, but when I come in, she's always bubbly, she's well respected in the school, the kids love her, and she's got a beautiful daughter, and I think you got a gem there. And
I think the personality will translate very well to the police department.
okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just, I too am sorry to the Hoosick Valley Regional School District, but happy for the town of Adams. But also, you know, they will be able to work with you as well, because the school district does work with the police department, so they'll still have some connection to Ms. Lipinski. But thank you.
I would text everybody and say hi all the time. I was like, we can go to lunch together.
Perfect.
That's right, yeah. That's
You're
true.
right around the corner. That's right. So welcome.
Anything else? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Unanimous? Welcome.
Fantastic.
Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, still on your new business, item C, we have licensing requests. The first item is a one-day liquor license for the Firehouse Cafe, 47 Park Street in Adams, to serve at the Adams Theater, 27 Park Street, Adams, on Saturday, June 15th, 2024, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Mr. Chairman, although I do not serve on the Adams Theater Presents Board of Directors any longer, I have not had this cleared by my attorney yet at this time, so I am going to step away from the table while you take up the licensing requests for the Adams Theater LLC, even though they are separate entities.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll need a motion to approve the first licensing request.
I'll put forth the motion to allow for a one-day liquor license for the Firehouse Cafe located at 47 Park Street to serve at the Adams Theater, which is located at 27 Park Street, on Saturday, June 15th, 2024, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay, we have a motion by Joe. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ann. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Unanimous. The next two are very similar. Do we have a motion for the second request?
I'll make a motion that we allow the one-day liquor license for the Firehouse Cafe at 47 Park Street, Adams, Mass. to serve at the Adams Theater at 27 Park Street, Adams, Mass. on Sunday, June 16th, 2024, from 5 to 9 p.m.
I'll second it.
Motion by Ann, second by Joe. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? It's unanimous decision. And the third request for licensing.
I'll make a motion for a one-day liquor license for the Adams American Legion to serve outside at 160 Forest Park Adams, Mass. on Saturday, July 27th, from 2024, from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m.
And I'll second that.
And we have a motion by Ann, second by Joe. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous decision.
Want John to send this to you? Townwide tax sale. Sure will.
All right, next under new business, item D, approval of townwide tag sale and request to reduce the tag sale fee to $1 for August 10th, 2024, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Do we have anyone that will address this?
I can take it as chair of the Adams Events Committee. So, as John mentioned, we're planning to host a townwide tag sale on Saturday, August 10th. It's been a very successful event in the past, so we're looking forward to it this year. We'll be working with Berkshire Regional Planning Commission's employee, Mark Malloy, to coordinate a map for the tag sale once we receive all of the applications. And that map will be available on the town website beginning August 5th, and it'll also be available at Town Hall, the library, the police department as well. The application for the townwide tag sale is attached in your packets. The application will be available on the website after the board's approval. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Crystal. No questions. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to reduce the tag sale fee from $7 to $1 for the townwide tag sale to be held on Saturday, August 10th, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Motion by Christine. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ann. Any further discussion?
Yes, I bring this up frequently when this is going on in our community. I'm all for it, but a lot of times I've noticed that there's been a lot of people parking improperly on the wrong side of the street and clogging up lanes, and that's just my concern, and I just worry about something happening, but it hasn't happened yet, so let it go.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous decision. New business, item E, review of open meeting law complaint filed by Kathy Foster. We received an open meeting law complaint, the town clerk has, in regards to the board's meeting on April 17th. And we all have a copy of that. Normally, the process is to refer to town council. What is the board's action?
I'll make a motion to refer the open meeting law complaint filed and received on June 3rd, I think I saw the date, and refer to town council for a response on behalf of the Board of Selectmen.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second? I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Next is item F, fiscal year 23 audit presentation and review. Mr. Green.
I'll turn that over to Finance Director Crystal.
Yes, so Dave Irwin from Agglesing & Company is with us tonight to help present the financial statements to the Board of Selectmen. We have completed our FY 23 audit for the fiscal year. I'm happy to report that there were no findings, and Dave will go over the highlights of the financial statements with you this evening.
I'll try and keep my comments to a minimum. I know I'm known to be rather long-winded. So everybody should have a copy of the audit that's in front of them. It's one of the larger documents. It says financial statements and supplementary information. And it goes on for just a few pages, 54. All right, and we will start at page 1. Okay, so let's turn into page 3, and it says independent auditors report. Okay, now this is the opinion, this is really what the town is paying for as a result of the audit. The financial statements belong to the town. We come in and we audit them, and we express our opinion on them, and conclude about whether or not the financial statements are in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States, and that they accurately represent your financial position at the end of the year. Okay? Now, we got a couple things going on with the opinion here. Okay, so I'll try and be hopefully as clear as possible. We have multiple bases of accounting inside your financial statements. So the town internally follows a modified basis of accounting, okay? So it's a modified accrual basis, so there's some long-term assets, such as fixed assets or debt that are not on your internal balance sheet. And there's some other long-term liabilities, like your OPEB liability and your net pension liability, that are not on your internal balance sheets. But in order for us to put a clean opinion on your financial statements, we have to convert those numbers to full accrual accounting. So we're taking your internal statements, we're proposing adjustments to the set of financial statements to get your long-term fixed assets, your long-term debt, your net pension liability obligation, and your OPEB obligation. Those are the four primary numbers. There's some other numbers that are in there, but the four that I just listed are definitely the most material. All of that information comes directly from the town records. So so we have two different bases of accounting inside your financial statements. The government-wide financial statements, that's full accrual basis of accounting. Now, we were unable to issue a clean opinion over the full accrual basis financial statements for an issue that has been plaguing the town for quite some number of years. The town belongs to the Adams Contributory Retirement System. That system is not audited, so there's no financial statements that come out of that. And the Governmental Accounting Standards Board says that in order for us to be able to express an opinion that your proportionate share of that system's liability is a fairly stated number inside your financial statements, that we have to get certain information from an external auditor that would audit that system and provide us certain schedules. That audit is not done. And GASB says without that information, we don't have enough work in our work papers to support the number that we have included inside your financial statements. Outside of that, everything else is good and everything else is clean. Okay? So that's the one issue. So minus that, accounting records are clean, no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, no findings. We do have a few management letter recommendations to help strengthen and improve some existing processes that you have, but it's not a result of from doing anything bad. It's just to improve upon an internal control system that's already strong. We just want to make it a little bit stronger. So I'll go over those points when we get to that report. So that is the gist of page 3, 4, 5, and 6. Oh my gosh. 4 pages for our opinion. So that's it. Outside of that, the accounting policies and the regulations that we followed in fiscal 2023, the exact same accounting rules and regulations that we followed in 2022. We did not have to adopt any new accounting pronouncements. Okay? So let's move past, we're going to move past page 7 series. That's the management discussion and analysis. It's required to be included inside your financial statements and precede them. And it gives management an opportunity to expound upon budget items and some capital ongoing projects that you have. But we're going to go over all those numbers anyways. So let's skip to page 8. And it says statement of net position, June 30, 23. This here is the full accrual basis balance sheet. So this is required to be inside your financial statements in order for us to give an opinion, right? So starting at the top, the town has $10.7 million in cash. So all of the cash accounts were reconciled. There was nothing unusual running through the cash accounts or anything like that. We pull a lot of samples. We test a lot of the cash coming in, income, and we test a lot of the expenses going out. We pull a lot of invoices and dig down through the accounts and drive your accounting department nuts with how much stuff that we ask for them. And we didn't notice anything unusual running through your bank accounts. Everything was related to the operations of the town as set forth in your budget. okay? So $10.7 million in cash, everything reconciled, everything done timely. Your taxes receivables, that's $600,000. That's primary real estate and personal property tax outstanding at the end of the year. It's a very consistent number with the prior year. It's all current, all considered collectible. And there's another report that I'm going to go over that's a good mark on the town, and I'll show that when we get to that page. Unfortunately, it's towards the end, so it's going to take me a while to get there. Now, the town does have tax liens, so you do have properties that are in tax title for entities and individuals, businesses, and residential that hasn't paid their taxes. The Treasurer Department does stay on top of that stuff. We did have new additions added to the tax title receivables. I think it was, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but I think it was roughly around $100,000 that was added to the tax titles, primarily from current year taxes connected with properties that are already in the tax title process, okay? But the town, the treasurer did collect $140,000 on existing amounts. So the town is staying on top of it and making sure that they're trying to collect as much as possible in a timely manner, okay? Department receivables, that's a big number, $1.6 million. Usually it's not that high. The reason that it's so high this year is because we had a lot of grants that were owed us. So we had some fairly good-sized capital projects ongoing with Graylock Glen and the wastewater treatment facility project. So the town had incurred eligible expenses under those awards. We didn't collect the cash by June 30, but we had a right to those receivables, so we recorded them. They were on the books done by Crystal. And we did go beyond the end of your fiscal year, and we made sure that those were in fact collected, and they were. So that $1.6 million the town has, and they've collected since, so it was a good number. Okay? Now moving down a little bit, I want to try and just cover the big items here. Your capital assets, $32 million in capital assets now, and there's a tremendous amount of activity inside your capital assets. So we had over $12 million of fixed asset additions. That was a lot. Now, if you want to go back, just flip back a couple pages, and because there was so much activity, go back to page 7-8. All right? And the total additions was $12,019,000. So what we did to kind of aid the readers, we listed out what those fixed asset additions were, exactly what the town had bought. A lot of it was paid for with capital grant funds that the town had, okay? But you can see at the bottom of that list, the Graylock Glen Outdoor Center, Graylock Glen, the water system, those two there was just under $7.1 million combined. And the wastewater treatment facility project that we have ongoing was $4 million. We're spending more than the $4 million. We got more costs we're incurring in 2024, but they did incur $4 million backed by a debt. We borrowed money for that one there. But those are the capital asset additions. They were recorded properly in the general ledger. The fixed assets is one of the items that's in the conversion from your internal accounting system to your government-wide balance sheet. All right, so all that information comes from Crystal. It makes its way on to a depreciation schedule. We calculate depreciation expense, and then that depreciation expense is amortized or depreciated over the life of the assets. Okay? And we have this big line item here called deferred outflows of resources. You had GASB's getting, they don't know what to call these things anymore, so they just create these categories. It's crazy. Deferred outflows of resources, and if you go down below, you got deferred inflows of resources. Well, those are items that are connected with these long-term liabilities that were put on your balance sheet, connected with OPEB, of the other post-employment benefit liability, and the net pension liability, okay? So we'll skip down into the liabilities section, and you see down under non-current, you see net pension liability, $9.7 million. So we get an actuarial report that comes from the Public Employee Retirement Administration Commission over the Adams Contributory Retirement System. They do all of their actuarial calculations. We get a copy of that report, and then we take at the town of Adams proportionate share of that unfunded liability, and we lift it out of their report, and we put it on your financial statements, okay? It's a long-term liability. It's an accounting estimate. There's mortality tables that go into this, lifespan calculations, whether you're male, whether you're female, whether you're going to retire or not retire. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into this, so it's an accounting estimate. And with any accounting estimate, you have pieces that you can recognize immediately, or you have pieces that are looking out so far that it's a long-term portion, right? So there's certain items in that calculation that we can't recognize an expense immediately. So GASB tells us that we have to temporarily suspend those items onto the balance sheet into this new category called deferred inflows and deferred outflows of resources. And that's what the deferred inflows of pensions and deferred outflows of pensions and OPEB, that's what all of that is connected to. We've been doing this for quite a few number of years. All this stuff came back out in 2012, especially with the net pension liabilities. The OPEB liability came in shortly thereafter. We get a copy of these actuary reports. We look at it. The actuary themselves are required to comply with certain GASB standards, Governmental Accounting Standards Board standards, so that the calculation and the methodology that they're using to calculate your liability should be the exact same way an actuary way over in California is calculating a town in California's liability. So that the application of how to calculate these things is done uniform and consistent. Therefore, you can somehow gather a consistent review when you're looking at all this stuff if you were doing some big massive study. But calculation is consistent. The amount that we recognize in expense for the change in these liabilities from one year to the next is approximately the same. So nothing unusual, other than you had to add a few more words to the note disclosures for it or something. It's crazy. But those are those liabilities, and those are the biggest liabilities, okay? So you take your, let me talk about the debt here real quick, because you do have debt. We did borrow money for over $4 million. We did have bond proceeds that came in that we used for the wastewater treatment facility project. And all of that money was spent on that particular project, okay? We saw the money come in, and we saw the invoices of where the money was spent, and everything was fine, all right? So total assets, $49 million. You back off your total liabilities of $33 million, and that gets us down to our cumulative net position. And then we break down the cumulative net position into a few buckets. What we have tied up in our fixed assets, obviously because the town can't part ways with those assets to settle any liability, so they're fixed in place. That's what that $25 million is. Then the town has money that it got from grantors or from borrowing proceeds, for that matter, where you have to spend the money on very specific things. And that's what's inside this restricted column. And that's where you can see, and here we don't typically do this, but because the Graylock and Glen project is so big, we specifically separated it out so you could see the capital projects, Graylock Glen. We have unspent money of $3.5 million. We got a lot of the money up front off of a grant. We spent a lot of it, and this year here, obviously we're continuing to spend it going into '24. And then you can see this big whopper down there. It looks like an eyesore, but it's really not. It says unrestricted deficit, negative $16 million. But the reason that number is negative is because we have to recognize these long-term estimated liabilities, the net pension liability and the OPEB liability. And the portion that we have in the balance sheet in the liability section is representing the unfunded portion. So there's no asset to offset it. And that's what's driving that negative. Now, if you only looked at this report here, you would say, wow, the town's not in very good financial condition. That's not the case at all. The town's in a very good financial position. This is just a result of having to apply GASB pronouncements that's kind of muddying the water, okay? So now, we're going to flip forward a couple pages, and I'll show you what I mean. So let's go to page 10. All right? This is the balance sheet, and we call it the balance sheet for the governmental funds. It's the balance sheet for all the town's funds, general funds, special revenue funds, capital projects funds, for all the town's funds. But this is on the modified basis of accounting. So we're not muddying your balance sheet with depreciation expense, OPEB liabilities, net pension liabilities, or anything like that. So assets are the same. They're not going to change. Cash is cash, receivables are receivables, payables are payables. You can't alter any of those numbers. But you're not going to see the long-term fixed assets. You're not going to see the OPEB or the net pension liability. And now what I want you to do is go down on that balance sheet where it says fund balance, and you can see total fund balances, it's a positive $11.4 million. All right? We do have money that's restricted, and it's restricted for our capital projects and for special revenue funds, which is grants and contracts that we get in. You have to spend it on specific things. But you can see unassigned fund balance, it's a positive $2.5 million. So the town's not in a deficit position. So my recommendation is when you're reviewing a set of financial statements, I would focus on page 10 and page 11 because it more closely resembles your budgeting process with cash in and cash out, and it's not muddying it up with all these things that we got to do by converting to full accrual basis in order to be able to get an opinion on your financial statements. Okay? So page 9 and 10 are key pages. Okay. Page 11, not 9 and 10, I meant 10 and 11. I'm going backwards here. You probably, what's going on? Okay, 10 and 11, that's what I meant. Page 11, this is the governmental fund, it's a modified basis of accounting, and it's your income statement. So the town in total, $21.6 million in revenue, $6.9 million of that we call intergovernmental revenue. That's your regular state aid that you got. It's also the grants and that you got to help fund the capital projects that you have going on, okay? So it's all of that stuff there. But from local revenue, $14.7 million, consistent with the prior year, okay? Nothing unusual. Everything was coded properly in the general ledger for all the samples that we pulled. Again, we go beyond the end of your fiscal year as well, and we make sure that the cutoff was accurate so that you not only had it in the right account, you also had it in the right period and in the right fund. And we didn't have any issues as a result of everything that we looked at. Total expenses, $30.3 million. Again, you're going to see over in the general fund, which is the town's primary operating fund, $17.1 million. That includes all the costs for operating the town and paying the debt service. $11 million, you can see over in the capital projects fund, that $11 million went out for Greylock Glen and various other capital projects, wastewater treatment facility project that we had going on. And then your non-major funds is all your special revenue funds that we had. Again, a lot of it was capital project money. And now, going down to the bottom, you're going to see here net change in fund balance. And you can see the general fund was a positive $133,000 at the end of the year, surplus. And you're going to see in the capital project fund, it's a negative $5.4 million. But if you look at the number right down below, you can see it's a positive 9.5. So what happened was we got a lot of the capital project money specifically for Greylock Glen, and we got it up front in 2022 or maybe even 2021, and then we're spending it. So the period that we recognize the revenue is different from the period that we're recognizing the expense when you actually spend the money. So the key to the capital project fund column is you want to focus on the bottom number. You never want to be negative. You can't overspend something that you have, and you don't. You're a positive $4.1 million, meaning you still have more money to spend, and that's primarily connected with the Greylock Glen. All right. Yes. Well, my watch died, so you may have to tell me when to stop. I keep going here.
10 more minutes.
Okay.
You're doing great.
That doesn't happen.
Kevin's watch dies, Dave.
Yeah. Okay. But kind of moving forward, so again, page 10 and page 11 are key pages to focus on. And then page 13. And page 13 is important because it documents the budget that the town voted and approved, and then it records an actual against that budget and where we stood. Now, we know in Massachusetts, you're not allowed to deficit spend, because that's illegal unless it's like snow and ice or something like that. So, and the good thing down in the revenues, we were over budget of $47,000 net of everything at the end of the day, so that's good. And the expenditures, we were under budget by $780,000. against, a $17.6 million budget. So the town stayed inside the confines of its budget and didn't deficit spend, which you're not allowed to do. So the town did a very good job stewardship-wise over its money and staying within lines of what the Board of Selectmen voted to adopt, okay? So that's a very important page. So page 10, 11, and 13. Okay, this will go a little bit quicker now. We've made it past those key pages. Page 14, the town has fiduciary funds, right? You can't spend the money on town operations, but they're under your care to make sure that they're spent on the things that they're supposed to be spent on. The number one driver is obviously the town treasurer has legal fiduciary responsibility over the assets that are inside the retirement system. So we have those. There's $38.7 million, okay? And that comes right off the investment statements. We get that right from the pension department, so we don't have any issues with that. We get that from Adams Contributory Retirement System. It's not a department, but we get it from the system. There's some library funds to be spent on very specific things. The town has voted, to vote to put about $47,000 to help fund the OPEB liability. It's a good start. The OPEB liability is, what did we say the number was? It's a small number, $10.5 million. But it's a good start, and to me, it's a good thing for the town to do, to recognize that, because you're recognizing the fact that obligation is legitimate. It's real, even though we don't know what the final true number is. The actuary gives us the closest estimate of what you would have to put aside to fully fund that, if you ever made that decision to move forward with that. So it's a legitimate liability. The town has made good conscious efforts to start putting some money aside towards that. Okay? All right, so kind of moving on, and going into the notes of the financial statements, these describe all of your accounting policies, everything that you follow. So the notes, for the most part, are exactly the same as they are with the prior year, except we updated it for the current year numbers, which everything comes out of the notes and goes on those faces of the statements that I just went over. So we're going to be able to bypass the lion's share of this stuff, and let's go right to page 27. And page 27 is the debt, okay? And I only want to point this out, because the town's got debt outstanding of $6.3 million. And there you can see the wastewater treatment facility bond, the bond proceeds coming in at $4 million. Now, the paragraph down below, even though there were multiple advance notes, so we actually have more that we can borrow on these notes, and there was two of them. One was for $6.8 million, and one was for $597,000. So you can borrow up to those two that was authorized. So far, we've only borrowed up to the $4.1 million. Okay. And then kind of moving forward a little bit, let's move to page 31. And right in the center of the page, it says the change in the net pension liability. And I only want to show you this so you can see that the change in the liability is not a whole lot, and so it's consistent from year to year. The top number, balances at June 30, 22. The net pension, or the net OPEB liability is $10.499 million. And then at the bottom of that, the balance at June 30, 23 is $10.452 million. So it's only a change of $46,000. So we only had to recognize a $46,000 increase in that liability or an expense inside your government-wide financial statements. So liability, for the most part, changes, or stays consistent. Okay? And then on page 32, it's important to note, those are accounting estimates. So and that's why GASB requires us to say, hey, look, based on a discount rate that you used in the calculation at 4.13% that the actuary used, if the actuary used a 1% that was higher or lower, the liability would swing by a couple of $1 million in either direction. So it's just to point out it's an estimate. And then let's go we can kind of keep moving forward here. It's a lot of information. Well, I'll keep you moving on. Let's get to a good number here. Let's go to page 44. And this is a good remark on the town. So it speaks good of the Treasurer's Department and the Tax Collector's Department. It goes landscape, 44, it's the schedule of taxes receivable. And the top column there is your real estate. And these are reported by levy year. So you can see for the 2023 year, the total levy that was done out to collect the taxes was $11.864 million. At the end of the year, at June 30, 2023, we had $319,000 outstanding against that $11.8 million levy. So that calculates into a 97% collection. So, and then you can see the amounts down below, 2022, the amounts are small numbers. They're not material. They're not going to cause any financial repercussions to the town. So the town does a very good job in staying on top of its taxes. I know we have the issue with the tax titles, the tax liens, but some of those have been on there for many years. And I know from conversations with Jay that he's working actively to try and collect on some of them and get those closed down. And then you can see down personal property taxes, very minimal receivables. So it's a very high, 98, 99% collection rate. Motor vehicles, yeah, it's a different story. That's hard to get money for people paying taxes on the motor vehicles. But still, to me, based on what I see in other towns, if you're a high 80%, you're doing good. And the town here for the 2023 levy year, 93% collection. So that's a good comment, a good mark on town, that your treasurer and tax collector is doing a good job.
She's watching you tonight, Dave.
Yeah, I felt something.
She's smiling. That's okay.
Okay. So that's it. Now, I do want to go over one more thing. I'm probably over my time limit here.
You're doing okay.
Okay. All right. Let's be faster. Okay, so let's go to page 51 real quick. All right. Now, the federal government says that if the town spends over $750,000 of federal money, then you have to comply with the federal uniform guidance rules, and you have to get what's called a single audit. A single audit, the term comes from having an independent CPA come in and do a financial statement audit, which is what the numbers were that we just went over, and a compliance audit to making sure that when you spent the federal dollars, that you spent them accordingly on the terms of the grant and the award. And those two, compliance audit and the financial statement audit, came together, termed it the single audit. So that's where that term comes from. So we received and spent $4.6 million of federal funding. So we're well north of the $750,000 threshold. So we had to perform certain auditing procedures. We get our testing procedures out of the OMB compliance supplement, which comes right out of the White House, the federal government. They tell us what we have to test for, and we perform those tests. The major program that we had to test, you think it would be identified on the same page, but it's not. I don't know what page it's identified on. In one direction or the other here. Okay, so it's, we had to test the money that was spent on the Clean Water State Revolving Fund cluster, so CFDA 66.458, right? And that money there, that money is connected with the borrowing proceeds that you got for the wastewater treatment facility. And when we confirmed the debt, we found out that there was federal money that came into the Mass Water Clean Trust that made it into the bond proceeds that you borrowed. And so out of the $4 million, $2.3 million of it was federal pass-through money. So we had to make sure that you spent that money on the intended project. And you did. We tested everything, and the town passed all the tests. And then the very number at the top, the Economic Development Cluster, that $11.3 million, that was federal money, and that was money connected with the Greylock Glen project. So we had to test all the compliance for the spending of the dollars on the Greylock Glen, and the town passed all those tests as well. So not only So you have a clean opinion going back to the federal government, which we were required to submit prior to March 31st. I think we submitted it like March 20. So that's the financial statements. I got one more, and I'll be trying, I would say I'll be quick, but I don't know if that's not proven to be true here. Okay, there's another report, it's called Management Letter. It's just 6 pages long. And then, so we had some comments that we had. So let's go into page 4. These are recommendations, they're not findings. They're just to help the town improve upon existing procedures that you already have. So item number 1, I probably don't have to issue it, but I like to issue it because it keeps it to the forefront, and hopefully the retirement system reads it and says, okay, we'll listen to Dave and we'll get an audit. But I don't know if that's going to come true, but that's the intent of that. So and the other reason that we leave it is because it has a direct effect on your opinion. And it stops me from issuing a clean opinion on your financial statements, which is what the town deserves, because you have good financial reporting. So that's, yeah. I don't know what else to say about that. But that's that.
Is that the only negative impact from that, or is there anything else?
Yeah, that's the only negative impact to the town. Obviously, this has no impact on the retirement system. And we have had communications with the retirement system, and they do send us a letter stating as to why they don't receive the audit, and it's legitimate. So I think the only way probably around that is to have the audit funded externally by the parties that are inside the retirement system, that they might share that burden. Unfortunately, auditors got to have specific expertise in order to do that kind of an audit. But
Christine?
Crystal might answer my question.
I just want to make a clarifying point that there's 2 different types of audits we're talking about here.
That's a good point.
I don't want to give the perception that the retirement system is not audited at all. That's not true. They are audited by the Public Employee Retirement Commission, PARAC, which is the governing body that oversees retirement systems. The audit that Dave's referring to is an independent audit, which is what the town has. However, the retirement board does not receive an independent audit from a firm such as Dave's firm or a separate firm.
Yeah, solid point. So I'm glad you brought that up. So the retirement system is audited. I make that clear. I don't want to say anything that's incorrect. The audit that I'm talking about, it would be an independent CPA coming in and issuing a set of audited financial statements. Inside those financial statements, there will be certain supplemental schedules that they can provide to me as your town auditor that I can rely on in order to be able to issue a clean opinion that the number that I'm including in the financial statements that comes out of the retirement system is a number that can be relied on. And right now, I don't have that. And without that, GASB has said, sorry, you don't have enough information in your audit work papers in order to be able to conclude an opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Suppose that's an important point. Good catch. Okay, the town, item number 2, we're just kind of recommending that the town purchase a fixed asset software. Is this the one?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, the fixed asset software, Asset Keeper. We recommend Asset Keeper. It's inexpensive. It's like $500 or $600 a year. We run the system in our office, so if the town were to move forward with that, we can share the files back and forth, and then the town wouldn't have to create anything from scratch. I could give them back their file, and then they can maintain it. So a very minimal investment, and good from the standpoint that it'll have your accounting department always thinking about full accrual basis financial statements throughout the year, and not just at the end of the year when we come in. Not that I think that happens, but. Okay, item number 3. We had just recommended the town should implement a procedure on which the submission of applicable payroll returns and payment of the taxes is verified. Oh, yeah. There were some issues with some payroll companies over the last couple of years, with some of the payroll companies not remitting the taxes and using that money for things that weren't right. And it made it into the news. And then when we were going through the employee retention credit calculations, if you remember all that stuff there, and we had to file amended payroll returns, some of the payroll returns were coming back and bouncing saying, hey, this is not what was reported. So again, none of that is happening here at the town, but just to be proactive, we want to make sure that it doesn't matter who do you have processing your payroll. You always got to have an internal control at the town to make sure that you're looking out for the best interest of the town. Okay? So we're just recommending that Crystal add a couple procedures into her process, just to go on to a certain couple websites, federal government and state government websites, where they can make sure and verify that the payroll returns were in fact submitted timely and that the payroll taxes were in fact remitted. So that's all that is. And we've been issuing that as a standard point for many of our towns. So there's that one. And then the next one down, item number 4, we know that the Adams Fire District is having its taxes process run through the town of Adams here. So we did see that. And there was no issues in the current year. Everything was fine in the current year with what the assessors did and the tax collector and the treasurer did. But just thinking ahead, we just wanted to make sure that when the treasurer, the tax collector, reports the amount of taxes collected on behalf of the district, that it reports it back by levy year, because that becomes very important for the Adams Fire District to keep it all reconciled and straightened out. So if they have to go back and determine who hasn't paid, they have it by levy year, and that becomes very important. No different than what we have to do here at the town. So that's all that is. And then item number 5. Right now, we as your auditors, we really kind of, with Crystal's help, we put together the schedule of federal awards, which is subject to audit under the single audit. And the auditing standards, they're tightening down, and they're really requiring any entity to have good sets of internal controls to be able to do your own internal finances and create your own schedules. The CFA is one of them. Schedule of Expenditure of Federal Awards, which was that report that I just went over there. That's extremely important because that's reporting back to the federal government the spending of the federal dollars. So our recommendation is just to have Crystal, with our help, we can transition that responsibility really back over to the accounting department and have them compile that information. It doesn't have to be in any specific format, just so that we can get the information complete from the town, so that we can say that when we're auditing, when we include your information inside our work papers, we can say it's prepared by the town and not prepared by the auditors, because that creates independence issues, conflict of interest and stuff like that. So that's just a recommendation. I think that's it. Long-winded. Any questions at all?
Any questions from the board? Christine?
I have a couple. So, Dave, when you talk about the federal award audit, so since that's what we just wrapped up on with those comments and recommendations, is there an additional fee that we have to pay as part of our audit to file the CFA?
Additional fee to your auditor? What would that be?
I guess what I'm getting at is,
Yeah.
do we need to be, but if we are going for federal awards, do we need to be budgeting more for our audit if we have to be supplying?
The town already does that.
Okay.
And when Jay requests the quotes from me,
Yep.
I'm already pre-planning ahead because I already know what the town is doing. I already know whether or not you're going to need a single audit or not. So when I give my quote, there's a section for the financial statement audit. There's a fee that goes along with the single audit. I think the single audit fees, off the top of my head, I think it's roughly around $4,500 for that amount of work, the separate report and the separate filing. So.
And my next question's a couple of parts to the question.
Sure.
In the years that you've come before us, you've mentioned that you work with other communities. How many other communities are you working with these days?
Yeah, so starting from North County, town of Williamstown, Town of Adams, Williamstown, Adams, Stockbridge, Lee, Hancock, Town of Hancock, yeah, that's right, Town of Hancock. Donna Esses just pulled me back up into the town of Clarksburg. Hinsdale, we do Regional Planning Commission, so we do the BIPC here. We do the BITA. So that's kind of Berkshire County. With Beckett, I picked up Beckett just a couple of years ago. So that one's doing very good. Middlefield, I forgot about them, Middlefield. And then, so moving out of the Berkshire County area over into the Pioneer Valley, I do the FRTA, and we do the Pioneer Valley Transit Authority.
Okay.
And then we do the Hoosier Quality Water District. And there might be a couple others in there. So I would say from start to finish, I'm somewhere in the range of 12 to 15 good-sized audits for municipal finance auditing. So good broad range, good broad spectrum of experience.
So it's good to know, and I won't ask you to rank us among the communities. That would be unfair for me to ask. But my question would really be, you talked about having a clean opinion for our audit, and you talked a little bit about performance of staff, but can you talk about, performance and health, I guess? Your overall opinion, summed up in a...
The town of Adams is definitely at the top. I worked for many years with Mary, a phenomenal accountant, did an excellent job of maintaining your internal accounting records. Never had any findings or issues under her, so the town's always had very good finances. And now that I'm working with Crystal, that level of commitment and responsibility to the town's finances is definitely with Crystal. So, excellent. Compared to other towns, I'm very proactive with my towns to make sure that they stay on top of their accounting and that they have good internal controls, because I do not like to issue findings. So I would rather work with a town and a community, and I do it with every single one of my clients, to make sure that they stay at the top so that we can issue clean opinions. Getting an audit's not cheap.
No.
And the amount of work and the amount of frustration that I have to put a town through, I mean, they probably go home and complain. I mean, it's...
I do.
It's
I do. Don't worry.
She drinks a lot of coffee while you're...
So it's a lot. We pull a lot of information, and you certainly don't want to have to spend weeks with an auditor pouring through all of your stuff, drilling you with a whole bunch of questions, digging through your numbers. How come this number? How come that number? Why isn't this over here? You don't want to have to go through all of that only to come out with a finding at the end. That doesn't do any good. So I say proactive with every town, especially with the town of Adams. Crystal calls me throughout the year. I also have conversations and telephone calls and meetings with Jay if something very specific comes up, or just in general. So it's always good to stay proactive with your auditor, just like with any professional.
Well, thank you, and I'll just make one final comment, and it's to commend the staff. So around the time that the audit happens, they are pulling all of the documents for you at your request. For this year, for fiscal 23, while trying to manage fiscal 24, budgeting fiscal 25, and thinking ahead to fiscal 26 and 27. It's really quite remarkable that they're able to keep all of it straight.
Yes.
As a board member, sometimes I can't keep it straight, which fiscal year we are talking about. So I thank them for being able to do that, and I'm also happy to hear that they are in constant contact with you throughout the year.
And so I'll just say one more thing, because it's important. I don't have to propose any audit adjustments to your general ledger. That right there alone speaks volumes.
Yeah.
So the only adjustments that we propose is to convert your internal accounting system to what makes it into 2 pages inside your financial statements. So the town is very good with its accounting. Nothing unusual is ever noted. The money is spent where it's supposed to be spent. they stay within inside the confines of their budget, and they have good financial reporting that they can report back to the constituents of the town. They did a good job. Yeah, so the town should be very happy. It's a good report.
Thank you. And any questions?
No questions.
Joe?
Yeah, I just, excuse me. I was just wondering, we just started collecting the taxes for the water department
Yep.
as part of what we need to do. And I don't know how and when a transfer takes place, the money that they're owed from us goes over to them. Does anybody know anything about how that works? Have they received any money yet from monies that have been collected?
So we try to do it on a monthly basis. Usually we run a report mid-month for the previous month, and I work with Kelly's office to get that money over to them. So it's usually on a monthly basis. Right now, we're trying to work with them to figure out a way to run a report that shows multiple fiscal years. So I'm working with my accounting system vendors to get that. But that's what we do, yeah.
Yep. I know it's a new thing, so there'll be some work to get it the way we need it.
Right.
Also, during our budget talks, I was very happy that we're investing in the type of things that make auditing better. As you mentioned, I forget the precise name, where we can crisscross.
Yeah, the Asset Keeper program.
Right.
Yep.
Because that saves time and money on both of our sides.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yep.
And another thing also is, I believe you do a good job. You come here all the time. How many years have you been doing our audit?
Well, I've been with Addison and Company for 22 years. I think June 4.
Yeah.
It's 22 years, yeah.
The anniversary.
Yeah, that's
yesterday.
crazy. I think I've been connected with the town for probably, geez, it might be the whole 22 years.
Yeah.
Because when I came in as a rookie, Vince Viscuso was the primary director, and I worked many years underneath him, and I was the grunt worker. I get to pass it down. So, yeah, I got a lot of years and a lot of experience over multiple administrations. Well, I don't want to say me, because it's not fair to say me, Addison and Company, because I'm not the only person connected with the town here. There's been many directors over the years. We have concurring directors, and we got many staff that have worked with the town over the years in conducting your audit. So, but I believe you've been you've been a client of the firm for all 22 years.
Yeah.
At least for me, it might have even been longer.
Yeah, and I've been very satisfied with what's taken place and the results. But in hindsight, audits, some believe that an auditing firm that's been doing something with the same town for a long time, sometimes it's more proper and perhaps more beneficial to bring in another auditing firm to, look at things in a different way. And that's certainly not to belittle you and your firm, because I believe you do the good job, but when it comes to things like auditing, continuing to keep the same firm, it becomes almost a standard protocol how you approach and look at things.
It's a very legitimate question, and one that definitely should be asked. It's a tough question to ask. So,
yes,
you definitely. I have been. The Addison and Company has been connected with with the town for many years.
Yeah.
And the one thing that you want to keep paramount is to make sure that your auditor knows what they're doing, they're properly educated, and that they maintain paramount independence from the town.
Okay.
So I would say this: if you ever found Addison and Company not being responsible and holding their duty to the Board of Selectmen and not the town management, then that's the time when you part ways with your auditor. I don't believe that you necessarily have to part ways with an existing auditor if you're satisfied that the auditor is maintaining independence and doing what they're supposed to be doing, and the Board of Selectmen are holding that auditor accountable in every single facet. So, and hopefully, the Board of Selectmen have the opinion that Allison and Company's always kept independence paramount. So hopefully that makes the decision for you very easy. But yes, that's a legitimate, that's a very fair question. There is an exception under Mass General Law 30B that does not require towns to go out to seek services every so number of years, procurement. And some of those that fall under that exemption is certain professionals such as legal, like architects, and they list CPAs. But it's a very legitimate question. And one I agree the Board of Selectmen should take very seriously and have your conversations every year whether or not you want to move forward with any auditor or any professional that you engage in.
You know, once again, it's certainly
Yeah.
nothing against your firm.
No, that's a,
Because it's
yeah.
just different eyes see different things.
Yep.
And once you get your way of doing it, things come in and you continue on that vein. Not saying,
yeah.
that's all I want to say about it, is that sometimes
Sure.
auditors,
Yeah. Now, I can say that I haven't been, I've been your partner, I've been a partner on the engagement for about 10 years. But I wasn't a partner previously, so you have had rotations of partners over the years that you've been with Allison and Company, and you definitely have the professional staff, the licensed CPAs that come out and actually perform the grunt of the work. Those do change probably every 2 to 3 years on because of rotation and so on and so forth.
So you don't need to protract any longer.
Okay.
I'm quite satisfied with what you said.
All right, any further questions? Okay, thank you very much. You served us well over the years. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, yeah, thank you. I take it I stayed inside my time limit?
All right, getting back to the agenda. This is new business. Item G, Town Council presentation and appointment. Jay.
Thank you. So as everybody knows, longtime town council, Ed St. John III has announced his departure, his retirement as town council for the town of Adams. We thanked Ed at town meeting Monday night, and I would anticipate Ed will try to drag him back to a select board meeting in the future so this body can thank him. As Dave mentioned, Massachusetts General Laws 30B do not require a formal competitive process for professional services, of which legal services are incorporated in that. Once Ed gave his announcement that he was retiring, myself, we took some time. I spoke with other town managers, spoke with several other communities, and kind of took a poll as to what works and what doesn't work for them. As everybody knows, I am an attorney, and I've worked with Ed very carefully over the last 5 years. I have a good sense as to what the ebb and flow is of the legal work of the town. And frankly, for a small town, we're doing a lot of unique and novel items. And each time I spoke with the community, KP Law immediately came to the top. In January, when we attended the Mass Municipal Association, they have a trade show. There were several municipal law firms there, including our Labor Council. I spoke with them, spoke with several other firms, and spoke with KP Law. And I'm pleased to have in front of you this evening Attorney Jeff Blake from KP Law. The board was presented with KP Law's presentation, their proposal to become town council, and that is the recommendation this evening. So with that, John, I'll turn it back over to you, who can turn it back over to Attorney Blake, who's here to make that presentation this evening.
Sure. Is it Jeff or Attorney Blake?
Jeff is fine.
Okay.
In fact, I prefer Jeff.
Yes. Okay, Jeff, the board does have the information that was provided, and I was wondering if you'd just give us a high-level overview of the services that you provide.
I'd be happy to, and first of all, good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. As you know, my name is Jeff Blake from KP Law. I thank Mr. Administrator for the kind words about the firm.
as you point out, you do have the proposal. I think our managing partner, Lauren, has done a very good job writing this and has really outlined everything that we have to offer as a firm. But I do want to kind of highlight some of the things that may be in writing here, but I think what sets us apart from everything. As you may know, we have over 40 years' experience in municipal law. We started as a municipal law firm. We didn't start as a law firm that did everything else and then had a few towns on the side. We continue to this day to do about, don't hold me to it, but I'm talking probably 98% of our work is strictly municipal clients, be it cities and towns, be it we do a lot of state work. We don't do any federal work, but we do cities and towns. In fact, we are town council or city solicitors to about 130 towns and cities in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We do special counsel work for probably 100 more. Here in Berkshire County, I tried to count everything, and we probably do, we're over 50% of the towns. And I'm not saying that to give you a bragging about what we do, but I think that that's important for you guys because we represent so many cities and towns in Berkshire County. We understand not only your possible issues, but we understand the regional issues, and we've been working in these cities and towns for a very long time. I myself work for the town of Lanesboro, and I've worked with Lanesboro now for many years through 3 or 4 different town administrators. We have the town of Lenox. We have worked for your neighbor to the north, North Adams. So we have a very large client base, all municipalities, and with that comes a knowledge base that, in my opinion, can't be beat in the state. Now, I think that by highlighting this largeness, you probably say to yourself, yeah, but with largeness comes impersonal and being impersonal and the like. So we've recognized that over the years, and our model has always been, we're a fairly medium-sized law firm. We've got about 55 lawyers. However, we are very cognizant of being a small, for you, we're a small law firm with a large bench. And by that, I mean, we have, in our model, we have a primary contact, me. Everything will go through your town administrator or whomever he dictates it can go through to me. I have a team behind me. I have a second in command, a secondary or a backup, Lee Smith. If I'm not available, if I go on a vacation or the like, Lee steps right in. Lee is always up to date on what's going on in your town. So if for some reason I'm not available and Jay needs to get a hold of somebody ASAP, it goes to Lee. We have real estate department, we have contracts department, we have labor, although we're not doing your labor. We have land use, administrative law, the like. We have somebody in our firm who is a point of contact for you for every single one of those areas. You are able to, if your administrator wants to reach directly out to them, or it comes through me and I manage it. But what you will see is a law firm of about 5 or 6 people. If there's something that comes to me that it's a head scratcher, I don't know, I don't do that area of law, or I'm not really sure about that, I will assign it to somebody who is, for example, in contracts, procurement, the like. And either I introduce them to Jay and they work together, or I continue to move forward and I advise as that. So what you see from this, from KP Law is a very small law firm. With that, we also get to know you. I think for me, it's extraordinarily important to be a part of your team. I don't want to just be a lawyer at the other end of the phone when you have a problem. I like to get to know my clients. I also like to, like I say, become a part of the team. You've got your Glen development going. I think that sounds to me like it's pretty exciting. It's an outdoor center and an outdoor area that I think would be really exciting. It sounds to me like there's some public-private partnerships going on there. The backup, second in command there, Lee Smith, worked for mass development for 11 years. So Lee is very familiar with public-private partnerships. And that's the kind of experience that we can bring to you because we represent so many cities and towns and we have such a diverse clientele and the ability to get to know everybody in the state, be it out here in Berkshire County, be it in Boston, be it, you name it. As I said, we're municipal clients predominantly only. Our loyalties lie with you. We know municipalities. We understand your unique challenges. For example, when we're negotiating settlements and the like, we understand that I can't get a determination done in a day like a lot of private companies do. We have to go to you. We have to do the executive session. We're very well versed in open meeting law, and I'm not going to go too far down the path of what we know as far as our municipal knowledge. I think it's safe to say that we have probably experienced something exactly like an issue that you're going to have or something very similar to it, so that most of what we handle, 98%, 99% of what we handle is not novel to us. Somebody in my firm has handled it, somebody in my firm has had to address it, somebody in my firm has contacted whatever agency to address it and speak with them. So we are able to, through my stable behind me, like I said, a big bench, I'm able to take advantage of that. All the while, the interface with you is typically me, Lee, or, depending upon on the issue, perhaps another couple of people. Responsiveness. That's the other issue, I think, that a lot of people say, well, you're a big law firm and we're one of, 130 cities and towns. What's gonna set me apart? Again, we represent about 130 cities and towns. I represent, I think it's 10 or 12 where I'm the primary. So I have the ability to juggle my schedule if I have to. I have a cell phone that I believe I've already given Jay, and I believe I gave the chair, but if I didn't, I certainly will, and I'll give anybody in town my cell phone. I am available 24 hours, 7 days a week. I will tell you, I'm an early riser. I get up at 4. So I typically go to bed a little early, but it's on my bedstand and the ringer's on, and if somebody calls me at 10 o'clock at night because they're in an executive session and they have to get a hold of me, I answer the call and I do my best to respond. I think that that's also something that every one of us in the entire firm adheres to. So if we're working on a big procurement or a big bid process or whatnot, and I've asked Mark Rich to handle that for you because Mark is an expert in that field, it's the same with him. If something comes up and you need to get a hold of us, you can get a hold of us. We recognize, because we represent so many of you, that your work is typically done from 5 to 10, not from 9 to 5. So we make ourselves available. As far as coming out here, I'm happy to come out. Whenever you need me, I'm happy to use video conferencing, happy to do whatever this board or the town needs me to do. So I think I've given you probably the broad brush. I tend to not like to get up here and ramble on and prefer questions if you have them.
All right, Christine.
Sure. So Jeff, thanks for being here. KP Law is a firm that I usually sign up for the workshops and the webinars and all of the educational sessions that the law firm does provide. So, and the resources tab on your website is also helpful. I will say that although I asked the auditor like where the town of Adams ranked, I'm never going to ask you if we could be number 1 because I don't want to be number 1 in legal, and I don't want to be the first case. I don't want to be a case study is really what it comes down to. So the reason I say that to you is what I liked in your proposal was the client education program that KP Law speaks to, and the proactive nature in which KP Law handles education, so that you are providing, I think you said, resource cards or education cards regarding open meeting law, the public records law, procurement, conducting a public hearing. With a lot of volunteer boards, those are things that could get messy. So, I would be looking to KP Law to be providing some best practices, policies, procedures with regard to how we handle our public meetings, how we handle public hearings in particular, because those could lead to litigation where we have to. It's the one time I've ever had to go to court is I had to actually represent the Board of Selectmen in a dog case. Yeah, and it was a matter of making sure that, the public hearing was held correctly and standardizing those across the board for all of our boards and committees in town, I think would be super helpful and one of the strengths that I found in the proposal. So I don't really have a question per se, but it wasn't something that you had brought up yet, so I wanted to give you the opportunity if you wanted to expand on it.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because it was on my list and I kind of skipped over it. And I do think it is very important. So what we have is, for the more established law, we have literally, they're cards. But they're also on our website, and we allow you to access our resources section. We also, and this is really good, and we do it once a year. We'll give you 2 free times a year. We'll come out here and conduct an open meeting law seminar. Oftentimes, we will do one in the afternoon so that all of the people that work at Town Hall can come, and then we'll do one at night so that the elected boards can come. But we'll spend, we have a PowerPoint, and we'll give you the PowerPoint after. It typically takes, with no questions, it would probably take me 35 minutes. I typically do it for an hour and 45 minutes because there's always a lot of questions. We do that. We, as you can imagine, we have a significant number of policies, procedures, regulations with respect to, you name it, that, for example, the public comment. I think that's a hot button right now all over the Commonwealth. We have policies and procedures that we have developed with other towns and in consultation with some of the other stakeholders at the ACLU always wants to weigh in, and of course the AG wants to weigh in as well, that we make available to our clients. We can provide you with samples that we've done, and we can provide you with our draft policies that we use. So yes, you would absolutely have the ability to access those, and the good news is most of the time those aren't drafted out of whole cloth, so it saves you significant amounts of money.
I will just mention I was impressed, and I will say that we did utilize the education card that you had sent out to all of your clients when the First Amendment audits became a hot button topic. It was something that wasn't necessarily on our radar. It wasn't anything that we were familiar with, yet your firm was out in front of it to educate municipalities about what they are and what the First Amendment auditor's right is, what the staff can do in those situations. And it was a really simple, easy to understand card that we were able to then provide to our staff. And it wasn't anything that we saw anywhere else. So I did want to just give you kudos and I guess own up to the fact that one of our municipal friends, I think through the managers group, had sent it along, and so we were able to utilize the information.
I think the managers group shares a lot of that, and we're ecstatic to hear that. We're happy. Whether you're a client or not, our heart lies with our municipal client, with municipalities, and if somebody who's not our client can use it and it worked for them, that's even better.
Thanks.
Okay, Ann, any questions?
No questions.
Joe?
Yes, I'm always good for questions. I don't know if people like them.
Hopefully I'll be able to give you an answer.
Okay. I read the packet that you gave out, and I was impressed. It seemed like what you do and how you do it would be appropriate for us. our past town council was a great person. And he did work his family right down the line. But I think as time goes on that we as a community need to get away from the closeness that brings when local people do things for local people. And there becomes a camaraderie and of people, you know, knowing each other so well, and the legal aspects perhaps come more as, well, I can do this for you if you can do this for me. I'm not saying that happens, but that seems to me to be something that could be a possibility. Another thing that I would like to ask is, you have 55 lawyers. What is your turnover rate for lawyers? Because they come and go, you know, when the opportunity arises. So how long have you been with the firm, and who's the longest serving member on the firm of KP?
I've been there 21 years.
Yeah.
Lee Smith has been there around probably 16, 18 years. Who's the longest? I think we've got a few of them that are closing in on 30. What we have is a core of lawyers, probably of the 55, probably 30 or 35 of them that have been there 15 or more years.
Yeah.
As you know, I mean, unfortunately, I'm getting older, and so is everybody else in the firm, and we have to bring in new people. So we do have 15 or so new people. In fact, we try to hire a crop of 3 or 4 every single year so that we can get them in the pipeline, because municipal law is not everyday law. It's a specialty. So with respect to the turnover rate for the I'll call them the new people, new, some of them 5 or 6 years there, I think you're probably looking at 20% maybe. It seems this time around, our last hire last year, we haven't lost anybody out of that group. The year before that, we may have lost one, and oftentimes we lose them to no longer wanting to be in the legal profession. I mean, being in the law can be challenging for a variety of reasons. So I would say our turnover rate in the upper, the more experienced lawyers is extraordinarily low. The only turnover we get is retirements.
Yeah. And I say that for a reason. Jay is an attorney at practice, and he's here now as our town administrator. Yeah. So it begs the question is, you know, about attorneys, about not, you know, staying with what they do, because like you just says, it's trying, it's, you know, it's go, 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 go. And, you know, it's an occupation that takes a lot of push to keep on going, because it's a constant one thing after another. And that's kind of the reason I asked about turnover rates. Yep. And another thing, you said that you'd give us all a phone and your personal cell phone number. So if I was to call you about something, would you have to be obligated to pass it on to either our town administrator or chairman?
Yeah, I represent the board.
Okay.
And there's typically a policy that you guys will come up with.
So stop there then. If they call you about something, should it be passed on to me so I know about it as a select board member?
What I typically do is I go through Jay.
Okay.
And Jay will, I'll notify Jay that I spoke with your chair, and we discussed the Greylock Glen project about X, Y, and Z, and I indicated to him that yes, we can do that deal, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how I typically do it. Usually what happens, Member Blanchard, is usually
I'm Novak. Richard.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
That's
okay,
okay. That's
all right. Member Novak, I apologize, Novak. Typically, we'll have a policy, town council access policy. I'll never hang up on you.
Oh, that's-
I will never not take your call, and, you know, we can talk, but usually during that call, I will say, hey, look, you know, I represent the board, not just you, so, you know, I'm not going to be able to keep this, I'm not going to be able to keep this away from other members of the board. That's-
Yeah. Because unfortunately or fortunately, I'm not a good communicator. I don't go into the office too much because I don't want to be pulled into something that I feel I might be getting pulled into. And it makes it hard for me at times because I don't really know what's going on. And I'm at the fault because I don't really go into the office too much, but there's something about going into the selectman's office because I consider myself perhaps maybe good, maybe bad, but I'm pretty much the outsider on this board, and I like it like that because I feel more free to say what I want and how to express myself. So the reason I asked that was if we're a select board and we're not individuals.
Right.
And I've found myself in certain situations finding out things that I probably should have known before they came across to me. And it puts me in an awkward position. And that's something that I really don't like. And a lot of it's my fault. And I say that wholeheartedly. But if I communicate to you, you have the obligation to communicate to Jay and our chairman, but do they have an obligation to pass on the information to me as a board member?
That's not necessarily a legal issue.
Okay.
That's more of a policy issue.
That's all my questions.
Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, we're going to be looking for an appointment to appoint KP Law as town council. We will appoint, and the town administrator will negotiate the final fee structure. There are some suggested fee structures in here in 3 or 4 different areas, and the appointment will be for 1 year. So, do I have a motion? We'll try to work through that. We haven't had to do this in about 50 years, I think, between 2 gentlemen we've had.
I'll make a motion to appoint KP Law as town council for the period of time of, I think, now through June 30th, 2025.
Motion from Christine. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Ann. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just had one, excuse me. I just had one question. What is the rate? I looked at it, but it was hard for me to kind of gauge in when you did it, how much it would cost, and so on and so forth.
I got it, Jeff. If you,
Okay.
So if you recall, Joe, an email was sent along with the packet. What I've agreed with the managing partner is to run a 6-month test to see exactly how much of a legal load, caseload we essentially have. KP will assess that and make sure that an initial estimate of $36,000 annually for retainer services is a good number. They will adjust it after 6 months. There's a lot of work that is essentially pro bono or not billed. Some work is billed within that $36,000 at a particular hourly rate, which I think, Jeff, is $245 maybe.
You're correct.
Yep. Anything that doesn't fall within the scope of services for retained services is billed, I believe, at a higher number. And those are essentially just negotiated with KP Law to say, you know, that's very specialized work, Jay. It's time-consuming work. Litigation would fall into that. It's possible that some of the specialized work, if we were to hand it over on Greylock Glen, some of our real estate projects, such as Memorial School, it's possible those projects may fall into that category. We'll take those one at a time. But essentially, for the board's understanding and from a budgetary impact, 6 months review, estimated to be $36,000 for the year. It may adjust after a 6-month mark if Lauren and Jeff feel, wow, you guys are a lot busier than we thought. But I've had about 2 meetings with the managing partner, Attorney Goldberg. I had a whole list. I have it in front of me tonight. We went through everything. I'm sure there's a couple things that Ed may have outstanding that they have to pick up. But for now, that's what we have, and we are budgeted sufficiently for that.
And my last question also, and this doesn't pertain to you, I had asked a few meetings ago, I sent an email asking if there were anything left on at St. John's docket that are unfinished that was brought in front of him, and I was told that I would get a list of them.
He didn't provide one?
Okay, thank you.
Because I had asked him to directly respond.
Yeah, okay.
Just one other thing as well. We don't charge for the transition. We will sit down with your now town council. We'll get his transition memo. We'll review his files and the like and meet with him. And that's not something we charge for.
That was actually going to be my comment, that upon his retirement notice in January, Ed had mentioned to the board, and he has reiterated that he would help with the transition, and he would do whatever he needed to do.
It's usually not, I mean, we've done it both ways, and it's usually not that big of a deal. The hardest thing is making sure that we know the list of litigation, because those are the things that can, if you don't know and you don't show up at a court hearing, that can be a big deal.
Okay, anything else? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, and I really look forward to working with every one of you.
Great, thanks.
I'm just going to walk Jeff out.
Okay.
We've got the ratifications.
I don't know if I have the special police officers.
There's a memo.
Okay. Okay, still under new business, we have several annual ratifications for different varying amount of time, 1 to 3 year terms. And we'll take these by area. Just again, this is a special police officer letter. I start with the.
Here, John. Yeah, you got
That, can I grab
it.
that?
I got it for you.
I appreciate it. Okay, so the first area for ratifications are for special police officers. David Dean, Scott McWirt, and Timothy Sorrell.
I'll make a motion to ratify the appointments of special police officers David Dean, Scott McWirt, and Timothy C. Sorrell for a 1-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
We have a motion by Christine. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ann. And we all did receive a copy of Chief Kelly's letter to us. Any further discussion?
Just one concern. I know that they're special police officers, but I've noticed that details that they're taking one of our police vehicles and taking it and parking it with the lights on, and in order to have the lights on, you probably need to have the engine running? Okay,
But they're paid for.
okay.
It's an internal policy
All right.
that the cruisers are used.
Yeah,
and they're
just
paid
wanted
for.
to know, okay.
What do you need next? I'll find it.
No, I think I got it now. Okay, any further discussion? We have a motion and a second, right? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. Unanimous decision. Next, we have a list of our inspectors. We have 5 of them. We have letters from Jerry Garner, the building commissioner. Up to the board, you want to take these one at a time, or all 5 together?
All have been previously serving and previously appointed by the board.
Okay,
They're all returning.
I'll return
I'll make a motion to ratify the appointment of the inspectors as presented by the building commissioner for a 1-year term expiring June 30th, 2025. Those inspectors being the Assistant Plumbing and Gas Inspector, Michael Leahy, the Assistant Wire Inspector, Chad Wagnott, thank you. The Inspector of Plumbing and Gas Inspector, Norman Rolnick, Local Building Inspector, Mark Cruzel, and Senior Inspector of Wires, David Reinmiller.
You have a motion by Christine. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ann. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Unanimous. So I need
There's no letter for hazardous waste.
Okay, so we have under item H3, the hazardous waste coordinator, Timothy Coda.
I'll make a motion to ratify the appointment of Timothy Coda as the hazardous waste coordinator for a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ann, any discussion?
Yes, I have not a question. So if Tim, which he will get our vote, is the hazardous waste coordinator, is there a stipend for that beside the salary? Okay,
Same for tree warden beneath.
okay.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Next, item 4, tree warden, Timothy Coda.
I'll make a motion to ratify the appointment of Timothy Coda as tree warden for a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ann, any further discussion?
Yep, it's not a discussion, but I would hope that our tree warden begins not just worrying about taking trees down, I said this at our last meeting, and replacing trees as they're taking down. They're very helpful for our environment as far as taking in CO2. A lot of them are going by the wayside. Emerald ash borer for our ash trees, beech scale for our beech trees, and I'm just saying that we should put some money aside for purchase of trees, and that would be under the auspices, I believe, of the tree warden.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Unanimous decision. Next is under new business I, appointments for one-year terms expiring June 30th, 2025 for constables.
I'll make a motion to appoint Herman Bishop and Thomas A. Sacco to the position of constable for a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ann, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, unanimous. Next is Council on Aging Board of Directors. There are 8 individuals identified.
I'll make a motion to appoint the following members to the Council on Aging Board of Directors for a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2025. Alita Monchecki, Benjamin Acquista, Thomas Dubus, Elizabeth Mock, Leona Mesor, Pamela St. John, Mary E. Whitman, and Barbara Zimba.
I'll second.
Motion by Christine, second by Ann. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous decision. Next is the Traffic Commission.
I'll make a motion to appoint the following members to the Traffic Commission for a one-year appointment expiring June 30th, 2025. K. Scott Kelly, Timothy Coda, Michelle Pickard, John F. Duval, Gregory Honorato.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ann, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One abstention. Next is the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, which they are not paid. Do we have a motion?
Sure, I just didn't know what that beeping was. I will make a motion to appoint Michelle Pickard from the Planning Board and John E. Duval as an alternate to serve on the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission Board for a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ann, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One abstention. Next, we have the Mount Greylock Advisory Board, Timothy Herman.
Make a motion to appoint Timothy Herman for a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2025 to the Mount Greylock Advisory Board.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ann. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Unanimous decision. Fence viewers.
I'll make a motion to appoint Susan A. Denault, Andrew Goyette, and Timothy Zimba to a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2025 to the position of fence viewer.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ann. Any discussion?
Not a discussion, just a comment, because I would just, bringing up Timothy Zimba, who is a dairy farmer, and the last farm here in Adams that does dairying, it is dairying month this June and I just want to give kudos to him, and I didn't know how to bring it out because we have to send all of our individual items and ask to be okay, so I'm just bringing that up, and I'd like to thank the Zimba family for their generations of running a dairy farm.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous. Measurer of wood and bark.
I'll make a motion to appoint Bruce Shepley to a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2025 to the position of measurer of wood and bark.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ann, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous decision. Trench board.
I'll make a motion to appoint Jerry Garner, Timothy Coder, and Tristan Ferry to the trench board for a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ann, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous. Next, we have Berkshire Regional Transit Authority Advisory Board.
I'll make a motion to appoint Sarah Fontaine to serve on the Berkshire Regional Transit Authority Advisory Board for a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ann, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, unanimous. American with Disabilities Coordinator, J.R. Green.
I'll make a motion to appoint J.R. Green as the American with Disabilities Coordinator for a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ann, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, unanimous decision. The Fair Housing Officer, Eamon Coughlin.
I'll make a motion to appoint Eamon Coughlin as the Fair Housing Officer for a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ann, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None, unanimous decision. Preservation Officer.
I'll make a motion to appoint Eugene Mikulenko as the Preservation Officer for a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ann, any discussion?
Yeah, just a comment. I think that's a very important position, and I'm glad that Eugene has it. Valuable assets is for our history is to preserve them, and we have a long history.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, unanimous. Right to Know Coordinator, J.R. Green.
Make a motion to appoint J.R. Green as the Right to Know Coordinator for a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ann, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, unanimous decision. Now, in the last section is J. These appointments are for three-year terms.
We have one more.
One more on top.
I went too fast, thank you.
We got you, John. Board of Survey.
And we do have a memo on that, too.
Okay. The Board of Survey.
Sit it down.
We do have a request from the Building Commissioner, Jerry Garner, to appoint Brian Asepi. So I will make the Motion to appoint Brian Asepi to the Board of Survey for a one-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ann, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous decision. Now we go to item J. Appointments for 3-year terms expiring June 30th, 2027. First is the Agricultural Commission.
I'd like to make a motion for appointment to the Agricultural Commission for the 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2027, putting forth the names Sonia McQuirk and Megan Bantle.
We have a motion by Joe. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Christine. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous. Register of Voters.
I'll nominate Register of Voters for a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2027. Casimir Kuza, R. Kuza.
We have a motion by Ann. Do we have a second?
Second?
Second by Joe. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous. The Retirement Board.
I don't have that on mine.
Retirement
That was it. I didn't get the updated one. I left it up in my thing.
You should have gotten a new one when I saw you down here today. I handed you.
Yeah, you may have given me the new one and I gave it back.
Okay.
Sorry.
I don't have the Retirement Board either.
Yep, we do have the letter in our
I have
packet.
the letter, but
Yeah, but not the,
Yep.
that's okay.
It's on the posted agenda.
Yeah, yeah.
So I will make the motion to appoint Pat Wall to the Retirement Board for a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2027.
Motion by Christine. Do we have a second?
second.
Second by Ann. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous decision. The Zoning Board of Appeals.
I'll make a motion for the appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals for 3 years expiring June 30th, 2027 of Thomas Whalen and Aaron Girgenti.
Motion by Ann. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Joe. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous decision. Conservation Commission.
I'll make a motion for the appointment of a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2027 to the Conservation Commission of Natasha Bordeaux, Matthew Burdick, Erica Rose Dean.
We have a motion by Ann. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second by Christine. Any discussion?
Just a scrivener's mistake. It's Natasha. There should be an A at the end of,
All right, thank you, Joe.
yeah.
We had that vote, right? Okay, so that is unanimous.
Oh, no, you have to call for the vote.
Okay, so we have a motion and second,
Yes.
and we have an update. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, unanimous. And finally, the Historical Commission.
I'll make a motion to appoint to the Historical Commission a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2027, Ryan Byers and Jerome Sokolov.
Motion by Ann. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Christine. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. That's unanimous. Thank you for your patience on that.
No, you did good, John.
Okay, the board will be going into executive session. Could I have a motion, please?
May I ask before we go into executive session, is there anything within the context that we're going to look at for the agreement between the highway department and the contract that it differs to any great extent than we've looked over the last 3 times in a row? And the reason I'm asking that is I don't really see a reason to go into executive session if that's the way the board feels about it.
No, nothing has changed. The only thing different you have tonight is the information that was previously presented is now in memorandum of agreement form, which you'll sign. So essentially tonight, we can go through that so you know what you're signing, but the substantive changes to the agreement or to the master contract are exactly what was previously discussed.
Okay, well, then I would suggest, and it's just a suggestion, that we do away with the executive committee meeting, and it's up to the call of the board members.
And before the board takes up that matter, I can inform the board that the DPW members of the union did ratify the agreement on their end, standard town practice, and, so is once the Board of Selectmen give us essentially the town staff our marching orders, what they're comfortable with, we come back, say where we are in the negotiation. Once the board is comfortable with that, we go back to the union, we say we're done negotiating, we close out the negotiations. The memorandum of agreement, which essentially modifies the master collective bargaining agreement. Certain paragraphs may stay the same because they weren't part of the bargaining agreement. This memorandum of agreement goes through tactically and strategically and changes it.
So they agreed to everything that we told them we weren't going to allow, or?
So when we talk, let's say about wages, and everybody agreed on wages, or at least reached the consensus on the wages, that's now mechanically put to physically change it. That's what the memorandum of agreement is.
Okay.
We take that document, we send it to the union representative, AFSCME, they take it, they have a union meeting, they take it to a vote, they report back that they've ratified it. Once that happens, we come in and say they've ratified it. Now it's up to the board to vote yes or no on it.
Okay, so we have an executive session that was scheduled. Joe has indicated that the need is not there, that we go straight to 8, open session. Ann, what are your thoughts?
I have no problem with it.
Christine?
I have no problem unless the staff has anything that they need to discuss about negotiations.
No, we're okay with it.
Then, good, great.
And I'm good with it, so what do we do with item 7? This is like the first time I've gone through something like that.
Take no action on it?
No action on it?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's your first?
Poor Peter is now deaf, though, because you clapped right into the microphone.
Sorry, Peter.
Sorry, Peter.
I'll hit the mute button next time for it.
And was that pro bono, or is the clock ticking? I'm just...
It's all part of the transition.
All right, the chair indicates that no action will be taken on item 7 of the agenda, executive session. Next is under open session, we have the ratification of Department of Public Works Memorandum of Agreement for 2024 to 2027. Jay?
I'm going to have the Finance Director, Crystal Wojcik, walk you through it. She is kind enough to type up the memorandum of agreement. She is meticulous with this. Although I don't want to lose her for 3 very intense years, she would probably be very capable attending ABA accredited law school. But I'm going to have her walk through it. I'll give you the high-level overview. There are 2 parts to the negotiation. As you know from previous conversation, wages and financial impact to the town. That was done first. We obtained the board's consensus, having a specialized conversation or a honed-in conversation just on a wage adjustment and the cost of living increase for the 3-year term of the contract. We then were able to take those agreed-upon terms and principle, bake them into the fiscal 25 budget, so that when we went through the budget development process with the Finance Committee, with the Select Board, that was an actual number proposed that we could talk about that we would anticipate being passed. If we hadn't done that, we would have had to have estimated budgetary costs, which for a town such as Adams, we just aren't in a position to absorb that. The second or corollary part to that is that we then went through and talked about work rules or management rights, language cleanup, a variety of mundane topics that needed to be done. Every year we try to hone in. Attorney Higgins tries to hone in and clean this and up and keep it contemporary with modern labor law. So with that, there is nothing new that needs to be discussed with the board. It is everything that we've discussed in detail before. However, with that, and because it is now open session, I'll let Crystal walk us through the memorandum of agreement and see if she can beat Dave Irwin's time.
Oh, that might be a challenge.
Bless you.
Bless you.
So, Article 1, recognition and jurisdiction on page 1 was to add a table that includes every bargaining unit position in the department or the subsection of the Department of Public Works that position falls in. So that's what you see in that table. On page 2, There is also a bullet point for Article 1 to add the word manager instead of operations supervisor. The title should be operations manager, so that's just a housekeeping item. Article 2, management rights. You will see all of the management rights listed there, including the change in the language to the management right number 2, and the new management rights are numbers 16 through 36. Those are all recommended by Labor Attorney Higgins, and I believe have been reviewed with the board prior to tonight, so nothing has changed there. Page 3, Article 4, hours of employment and overtime pay. The first bullet point is to increase the compensatory time to allow the union members to carry up to 60 hours and for that time to be used within 30 days of earning it. So those are changes reflected in italics in that paragraph. And then the second bullet point is to strike an old side letter of agreement from 2011 regarding how seasonal employees are used within the union environment, and that new language just outlines what seasonal employees can do and kind of summed up what the side letter of agreement said. Questions so far? Okay. Page 4. Top bullet point there is to add language to allow the Greylock Glen Building and Grounds Superintendent to work with the bargaining unit to perform work at the Glen as needed. And then the second bullet point there is some cleaning up language to their shift hours. We realized that the way that paragraph read, it was really talking about their paid lunch policy. So we renamed the article, or that bullet point, to paid lunch policy and just cleaned up the language a little bit there. Article 4, wages. Effective July 1, 2024 is a base wage adjustment. Effective July 1, 2025 is a 2% cost of living adjustment, which I can give you what that budgetary impact will be in year 2. It will be about $23,206. And then effective July 1, 2026 will be another 2% cost of living adjustment, and that budgetary impact will be about $23,671. Next article, or next bullet point in Article 5 is the addition of longevity stipends for the union members. So from 10 to 14 years of service, those union members will receive a stipend of $1,000. 15 to 19 years of service will be $1,500. 20 to 24 years of service will be $2,000. 25 or more years of service will be $2,500.
Annual impact with current staffing and their demographic is approximately $7,000.
Thank you, Jay. Page 5, vacations. This was to clean up some of the language that was in there before. It was very confusing as to how they were receiving their vacation time. So now this treats all employees the same, regardless of their hire date. And you'll see the breakdown of how they earn vacation based on years of service. Article 12, jury duty, was a housekeeping item. I believe Attorney Higgins wanted to add the word to the article, so that's all you see there. Number 7, Article 13, personal leave. We changed or agree with the union to increase their personal leave from 4 days to 5 days, which allows them to carry a maximum of 40 hours instead of 32 hours. The next article, insurance, we are deleting a paragraph that no longer applies to us based on how we issue our health insurance. Next page, page 6, seniority. A housekeeping item was to add the letter S to the word leave. That was from Corey Higgins. Article 20, dues checkoff. This was put to us by the union to add the word voluntarily. Jay, I believe there's a case on this. I can't remember what it's called though. That came from the union and Attorney Higgins. So
again, modern labor practice has certain case law has come down that says essentially being part of a union is a voluntary act and can't necessarily require participation in it. So we had to change some of that language.
the next two articles, voluntary membership and miscellaneous payroll deductions, is also all part of that same situation. It's a matter of just adding the word voluntary to the existing language.
And you're going to make me wonder what that case name is now until I can get to my computer.
You're welcome. Page 7. Duration of the agreement is to change the dates from July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2027.
3-year agreement as we always have.
Yep. And Article 25, working hour classification, is a slight increase to the hourly rate that the union members receive if they are filling in for a position that is above them. So the working foreman filling in for operations manager will receive $3 an hour. Mechanic filling in for mechanic foreman is $3 an hour. Crew leader filling in for working foreman is $2.75 an hour. And there is additional language in the contract about how they earn that and how many hours they have to work to earn that. It's not just given to them based because somebody took a sick day, basically.
The intent for that is if somebody goes out on medical leave or takes a long vacation and certain job functions need to be covered, they're compensated for the additional duties.
Yep. Next article, work clothes, increases their clothing allowance from $500 to $600. There's some housekeeping language in there about how new hires will receive their clothing allowance on a prorated basis from their official start date. That is what we've been doing. We just wanted to get the language in the contract. The next paragraph is to allow all the employees to earn or to submit for reimbursement for the purchase of boots for their jobs, so they can receive up to $150 per fiscal year, but they have to purchase it up front, and then we get reimbursed them upon receiving a receipt. And then the next section in that is some slight changing to the commercial driver's license language, that if an employee is terminated or solely demoted for failure to possess a valid CDL and endorsements, they shall be given consideration, not preference, for an opening for which the employee is qualified. And the second bullet point is the same language to remove the word preference and make sure that they're given consideration.
Point of this provision, again, was so that we're not forced to have an employee who is separated and forced to return them back. We are willing to consider, but the previous language had an impartation that we were required to take them back.
Page 8, educational benefits, is the language to allow a laborer to, I want to say enroll, but to apply to have their commercial driver's license paid for by the town of Adams. And there's very extensive language there that has been presented to you prior to this meeting about that process. Before I move on, are there any questions about anything so far?
We had gone over that process in quite in depth at the last meeting, but just for folks in the gallery at home who may be wondering, Town of Adams previously would pay for a fee, an annual maintenance fee for an employee whose job requires them to have a commercial driver's license. Some of the techniques that municipalities are taking on in order to recruit folks and retain folks is that the municipality will now pay for an individual's to obtain a commercial driver's license. Those can be based on the income of the individual, a financial burden to acquire, and would limit their ability to upwardly move within the ranks of the union. So the town has offered a structure. I would suggest it is a very controlled structure with ample review in order to determine the aptitude of the employee before the town invests several $1,000s in them to obtain a commercial driver's license. And similar to a provision that was placed in the police collective bargaining agreement last year, if the town invests in an employee in this manner, there is a buyback provision. Essentially, for 4 years, that employee must work for the municipality that hired them and that invested in them. And each year, there's a decreasing percentage of payback requirement. So that way, if we invest in an individual, they choose to leave within year 1 or 2, 3 or 4, there's a buyback provision, so the taxpayer is able to get their investment back on that.
The next article, Article 31, the no strike, no lockout, was just an addition of the article name into the paragraph so that we know what the paragraph is referring to. Article 33, extension, was to delete the sentence about using certified mail to notify people of things, because we don't do that anymore. We have email and other ways to notify people about changes. Next article, 39, stability of the agreement, was to add a stray, or delete a stray quotation mark in the article. And then the very last item is a brand new article, which is from the union representation and orientation. And this is language to allow the union stewards to attend the National AFS-CME conference every year, and to allow an orientation day for new union members to be acclimated to the how the union works. And then as a very last bullet point, the union did provide us with a one-pager about new membership information that they would like to see in the back of the contracts when they're printed. And that's all I got.
All the way at the back of the memorandum, you'll see the proposed wage charts for the 3 years that are part of this agreement. Just note that the hourly rates are slightly different for the wastewater treatment employees versus the highway, parks, and grounds folks.
All right, any questions in regards to the memorandum agreement between the town of Adams and the DPW unit? And we've been through this many, many times.
Yeah.
Yep, Joe?
I'd like to say right up front, I'm going to vote against this contract, and every time I vote against something, it's incumbent on me to tell the people of this community why I'm doing it. So I'm going to go through a few things that I find somewhat unplausible in my mind. Page 2, to determine level of services to be provided by the employer's discretion. Now, that to me is a very vague statement. So if we have an incident where somebody's coming into our community right now and asking to have something done, so we can say, well, we don't provide that level of service. And to me, it's kind of vague. It's something that you can go to because it's within a contract, but you can pull it out and say, well, it's right in our contract. That's the first, and I'm going to go through these quickly. To determine new employer classifications. So that indicates to me that an employee comes in, and if whoever the person that hires him or her say that, oh, they've done this for, a number of years, and they're coming in, they won't be coming in on the first step. They can come up to an elevated step because they have some background. So that's arbitrary in how you could bring that out to an employee or someone, because that could cause, at least in my opinion, and this is my opinion, conflict of interest if somebody is known by the people that are hiring them. And this one I like, to determine a location, organization, and number of personnel. I think within the crux of our highway department, our leadership, it seems like when our crew is doing a job, everybody's at that one site instead of dividing the crew and putting some doing something in one area and another in a different area. I think more can be accomplished, so I would like that. And I'm going to go through this quickly. Page 4, the first part called a wage adjustment. To me, a wage adjustment is no different than what we're going to give for COLA. So by looking at this, and I was quoted by you, Jay, that this would perhaps be anywhere in a 7 to 8% range, and it costs the community of Adams $152,000.
167 for this year.
Okay, for this year.
Dollars in year 2,
Yep.
$20,000
Right.
in year 3.
And I just say that in the times that we're living in, you won't see many places that are giving out a 7 to 8% raise. And, that's just my thoughts. You all have your thoughts. Everything that's been added on, it's a little bit, but now we're giving stipends, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, $2,500 for the years of service. All right, but we're giving back to them already with health insurance and other things that go around having a municipal job, which I believe is a good way for people to make a living. They get a wage, they have insurance, they have personal days, they have vacations, and a lot of those things that are going here, those have been brought up a little bit. So it's, to me, there's a lot of nickel and diming going on, which in the long run will add up to some, some substantial cash. And let's see, I'm just about done, and also this article where working foreman filling in for an operation manager, $3. So, okay, so guy takes sick leave, so the guy who's taking over is going to be, the person out will be getting sick time and using our insurance, and then because he's filling in for him, he's going to be getting $3 more an hour on his paycheck. Maybe it makes sense, but to me, when you're working for, you know, someone, it's like kind of a teamwork, you know, you don't always look for the money aspect of it. You work as a team. And lastly, I think I'm getting to the end, and let's see, I like the idea of mandatory drug testing. I think when people are around heavy equipment and operating machinery, that there should be drug testing for it. And I know that in some of our negotiations with other boards, they didn't want to, I mean, with other unions, and I won't mention a name, they wanted no part of it. So this came down by the Massachusetts, I believe, Supreme Court, that they need to get tested. And lastly, I know what's going to be brought out by other members of the board, that we have to give these raises because we're going to lose people if we don't do that. I'm not quite convinced that's the case. In this day and age, I think people should be very happy with a job within a municipality, because if some of these people think that the grass is greener on the other side and jump ship and go where they're going to make a lot more hourly wage working in the private sector, those people will be out in all types of weather doing work. They won't be getting the benefits that you will get with the municipality. You won't be getting the vacation time you get with a municipality. You won't get insurance, even though I believe is 70-30 split. Is that correct? 70-30? And you won't be getting that unless you pay quite a bit of dollars from a private business. You'll be, I mean, a private construction firm. You'll be making a lot more money, granted, but by the time the ancillary costs for other things you need, you're not making that money because it's dissolvable. It's gone because you have to pay for certain aspects of it. And when I saw this chart, I mean, comparing all cities and towns of what they pay, each town and each community has varying differences in establishing budgets. Rurality, when places are rural, it's different. You want to pay a person quite a bit who's an operator because he's going to be the only operator. So in short, when I look at this, it was well done. Whoever did it, it took a lot of time, but to try to look at it, at least in my opinion, and try to correlate what makes this different from one town to another, it just doesn't make sense, because communities are, you know, have different income levels and different budgets. So in short, I'm going to vote against it. I don't believe it's the time now here in the town of Adams. Our taxpayers are stressed, and to give out more money at this time, there may be a time down the road, but I'm going to vote against it because it's time that I, as a selectman, look into the eyes of the people that I've known that lived in this town, having lived in this town my whole life, to try to put the onus on their needs rather than on a group of people. So I'm voting against it. It might not make me a popular person in the community, and that I don't care. So I'm voting against this budget because I think it's inflated, and it does very little to help the citizens of our community.
Just one clarification for page 2, Article 2, where Mr. Novak just indicated that he was voting against. Article 2 are management rights that belong to the town of Adams. I just want to be sure everybody understands that these are management rights that the town has to manage the unionized employees.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, any further discussion?
I'll make a motion to ratify the contract between the Town of Adams and Local Number 204, State Council 93, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, the DPW unit, for the time period listed here of July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2027, as presented.
Motion by Christine, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ann. Any further discussion?
I'd like to comment that I appreciate the wage adjustment. I appreciate the fact that we can pay our hardworking employees a livable wage. This board has mentioned in previous years that we're not paying our seasonals, our laborers, and so forth, a livable wage. We adjusted that. It is part of this contract as well. I'm happy to see that. Last year, we approved a police contract that no one batted an eye at, and the amount far surpassed what the impact is to this budget for the DPW contract. I will make a comment about our DPW folks. They put themselves in harm's way every single day. Every day that they are doing road work, they are putting themselves in harm's way. The people who died on the bridge in Baltimore, what were they doing and who were they? They were DPW employees filling potholes. These people are really important to our community, and we should treat them with respect, and they should have respectable wages. As far as the comment with regard to not comparing ourselves to other communities, we cannot discriminate against where people live when they come to work for the Town of Adams. That means we pull people who live in other communities. So if somebody is living in the city of Pittsfield and is the most qualified person to work in our DPW department, they should be the one who gets the job, but they might not take it because they may take a job in Lenox. They may take a job in Great Barrington because it's the same distance from Pittsfield to Great Barrington as it is to Adams. So we should make ourselves we should be comparable. We should be in the job market, that people want to be part of our job market here, and we do need to maintain those wages. So I'm happy with this. I thank everyone for the work that they have done, the amount of comparisons that have been done, the charts that have been circulating for months now in all of our budget workshops as to what the increase would be, what the impact would be. When I mentioned earlier about working with at least 3, if not 5 fiscal years, this is what I'm talking about. It is what this impact will be in years to come that has been being tracked, and I think that this was very thoughtful. I want to thank our Labor Council for adding in all of these management rights, and to the team that negotiated this,
We got all but 2.
which I think is amazing. I know Jeff is sitting there, and he might attest to this. That's not always the way. It's rare that you would get everything but 2 management rights in all of it. So I think it is a fair contract. I applaud those who put it together, and that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion?
Just one comment back to Member Hoyt. I think it's arbitrary to say the hardworking. I think that's a presumption that you bring forth. It may not be a presumption that other people in the community say, so that is your opinion. I could go out and see other people in the community and say, boy, these guys are really slacking, so that is opinionated.
Just to jump in here, that we shouldn't be degrading anyone or talking down to anyone without them being here to defend themselves. Right. So just to
Okay,
stop that.
I apologize. I hear that all the time.
No problem.
Yeah, right.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Kristen.
No, I'm fine.
You fine? Mm-hmm. Okay, we're good with discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I oppose.
And any abstentions? Passes. All right, I believe Back to the agenda. The only thing we have to do is to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn?
May I ask, why, I just want to know, why aren't we, at the end of meetings anyhow, setting our next meeting? It seems like for the last 3 meetings, we leave, and I'm not told when the next meeting is scheduled. Do we have a meeting date for our next scheduled meeting?
Did we talk about this last week? Anyways, the next scheduled meeting is the same day as a federal holiday, right? June 17th?
June 19th.
June 19th.
Oh, thank you. June 19th. And Juneteenth. And the next meeting after that is July 3rd, which we will not be meeting on July 3rd. So the next scheduled meeting will be what is it? July 17th. It'll be the next scheduled meeting. However, the chair will call a meeting or a workshop if required, working with the town administrator. If you send in agenda items and we have work to do, we will call a meeting in that time frame. So we'll just take it as we go to determine if we need to have another scheduled meeting. And we want to stay in line with the local cable company here, so very important to us. So yes, the next meeting will be July 17th. Okay, now motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ann. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.